Let's jump into QSYS Designer. The following few lessons will assume that you have a general knowledge of how QSYS Designer works. If you are brand new to the QSC ecosystem, I would recommend checking out their online training that they offer to get acquainted with their software and products. We're starting with a blank slate. Depending upon what you are using your QSYS core for, there might be a lot more already in your design. For our VCom system, there are two elements we need to pull into our design. The first is the VCom plugin, and the second is the Intercom matrix. These are both bundled with our VCom firmware and can be downloaded from our website, www.alcorn.com, in the firmware section, or from the VCom product page. Once you have the VCom plugin and Intercom matrix downloaded, you'll need to drop it where QSC expects to find it. During the production of this video, we're using QSYS Designer 8.4.0. The location to place your plugins for this version of QSYS Designer is Documents, QSC, QSYS Designer, Plugins, Alcorn McBride. Here's a quick tip. Remember how we said the plugin is bundled with the vPage firmware? It's important to use them in tandem. If you end up upgrading the vPage's firmware, you'll want to use the new version of the plugin as well. To keep the firmware, plugin, and QSYS Designer compatibility straight, check out our chart in our knowledge base, or contact support@alcorn.com with any questions. You can think of the plugin as a virtual representation of a single VCom station. For each physical VCom you have in your project, you will need a VCom plugin instance. In our example here, we're hooking up two VCom VC12X, so we'll need two instances of the VCom plugin. We also have a VC16K in our design, so we'll add a third plugin instance for that. The second item we need is the Intercom matrix. This is the brains behind the logic of your VCom system. It is what handles party line and ring zone configuration and logic. We'll show you more about how to use the Intercom matrix in an upcoming lesson. Now, let's set up the properties of all three VCom plugins and the Intercom matrix. We'll start with the Intercom matrix. Pull up the Properties tab by single-clicking on the Intercom matrix. We created a design for a small attraction, so only plan on having a single party line. So, for party lines, we'll make sure 1 is entered. We have 3 stations in our system, so we'll change the station count to 3. Last is PL isolation. PL stands for party line. This defines if the party line audio will only be heard on that specific party line, or if you will be able to hear any station no matter what party line they are currently on. We'll keep it set to yes. We only have one party line in this design, so that won't necessarily affect what we're doing. Now to adjust the VCom plugin properties. Again, single-click on the plugin, and that will pull up the VCom Intercom Station Properties tab for that plugin. Remember, the plugin is like a virtual representation of a physical VCom unit. We'll assign it all of its information here, and then in the next episode, we'll link this plugin to a physical unit, and that physical unit will then assume all of the plugin's properties. Alright, let's walk through this together. We need to choose the model first. We'd like this to be a VCom VC12X, so we'll choose that from the drop-down menu. The matrix input is next. This is the input number to the Intercom matrix component we just added. For our first unit, we'll enter the number 1. Station name is a unique identifier that you can use to descriptively identify what unit you are working with. For our example, we're going to have a VC12X at the attraction vehicle's loading platform, and 1 at the unloading platform. So we'll call this particular station load. Next, we get to IP settings. One important thing to remember is that each VCom station has 2 network interfaces that are switched into a single physical port, one for control and the other for network audio. So we need to set up 2 IP addresses. We'll enter the following for the first VCom unit. Control IP address 192.168.1.86. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Control gateway 192.168.1.86. 1.1. Audio mode is if you will be using Dante or AES67 in your design. For this example, we're going to be using AES67. Next, we'll make its audio IP address 192.168.1.87, subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and audio gateway 192.168.1.1. Next step is ring behavior. You can either choose always ring or ring on hook. This is fairly self-explanatory. If you have always ring selected, that means that no matter the state of the hook, you'll always hear an audible ring. If you select ring on hook, it will only ring when the handset is resting on the hook, meaning that no one is currently using the station. If you have ring on hook selected, then your VCom station receiving the call will still light up like it's ringing. You just won't hear the beeping sound. Finally is show debug mode. This is used for troubleshooting, and we'll cover this in an advanced topics episode. Alright, I'll quickly enter the information for the second VCom VC12X unit and our VC16K unit, and then we'll be good to go. Remember to give them different names, PA router inputs, and IP address information. For the VC16K, remember select VC16K as the model type for that unit. In the next episode, we'll walk through how to link the plugins to your physical units. See you again soon.